everything is alright and you're staying safe and sound in this coronavirus, and you had a good weekend and ready for today's session. Alright. Just I don't know what is that name. Okay, this name. What is this name? Who is this? The Naj Judai app? I don't have this name. It is you, Mr. Abdul Razak Abdul Zahar Abdul Razak. So why don't you enter with this name, Abdul Razak? Do Abdullah Razak. This is you, Abdul Razak. This is your name. No, I don't want you to. Okay, introduce yourself. I just see what names go with this one. Lee Naj Judai Ta. Zohar? No, no. This one. Lee Naj Judai Am. Abdul Razak has his own name, but how about this name? It's Abir? Okay, that's it. Alright, that's it. So all of you so far are present except for Jawad Abdul Qasim Jasim is absent. Okay, Abir, now I recognize your name. Here again. Now today we are going to have a presentation on the second part of information processing system, that is long-term memory, its relevance to language processing, and the third subtopic to talk about today is about the working memory development. If you recall, last session we started learning and explaining the information processing system. Uh, I detailed the working of the functioning of working memory system or short-term memory system, and now we'll continue with long-term memory, right? And after I am done with this presentation, I believe I will listen to one of your lectures. Who is ready for today's presentation? Who would present today? Now I got it. I know that this name is for Abir. Right. Who will present? Mr. Esam is ready. Very good. So I will do my presentation up to 6:10, and then Esam we will do his presentation. So let me put your name here. Qasim Alvem Esam. Right. Now, long-term memory, it's a memory structures that is used for uh, keeping and storing permanent knowledge, right? So it holds permanent knowledge. By permanent knowledge, the knowledge which lasts for a long time, right? That is, it is that information is there in your memory system for long use. And the practitioner who suggests long-term memory system and describe it as tool wings, right? He believes that we should differentiate or distinguish between two aspects of long-term memory. One is episodic memory and the other is semantic memory. So the two subsystems of long-term memory are referred to, as I put it here and highlighted in red, is semantic and episodic memory. And To have a short definition of episodic memory, is that system which deals with personally experienced facts, that is, your personal experiences in the real life situation will be stored in your episodic memory. So this is episode means okay, stories, short stories, the literal meaning of it, and uh, the semantic memory deals with general facts, right? General and common information. For example, this example is given by Carroll, that semantic memory holds the information that horses have four legs and a tail, but the last time we went horseback riding is held in your episodic memory, right? Or, for example, another example, to distinguish between episodic and semantic memories, that you uh, if you remember the death of your family birthday, for example, your husband, your wife, okay, your kids, this date is held, sorry, in your semantic memory, but the last time you, okay, took part in a birthday party of a member of your family, okay, that the experience of that party and the memory of that party, birthday party, is kept and is held in your episodic memory, right? Thank you for your textings about semantic memory and your episodic memory. Now let's detail to know more about semantic memory. Uh, it refers to our organized knowledge of words, concepts, symbols, and objects. Okay, the information, okay, uh, gain we have about these things are kept in your semantic memory. So these informations are belong to four broad classes, like motor skills, typing, swimming, bicycling. Right, you have informations about how to do these cognitive skills, and your general knowledge, including uh, language knowledge, knowledge of okay, arithmetic. Okay. Thank you for this backdrop informations about the history of the development of the concepts of semantic memory, long-term memory, spatial knowledge. Last time we mentioned how do you mean by spatial, means space, location, or, typical layout of a house, and social skills, that is, how to begin, the informations about how to begin and how to end conversations, how to continue with conversations, and also rules for self-disclosure, right? Self-disclosure means that's how to end the conversations. For example, at the end of the conversations, okay, if you don't want to continue or you have another date, you say, sorry, I have to run. Okay, knowing that President often, right. So these categories are classes of information, subclasses of information which are stored in your long-term memory. If we want to consider that is when we says the relevance of this memory to language, right? Because we are concerned with the relevance of this memory system, that is information processing system, to language and language learning. For this reason, we need to consider these aspects more than the use of uh, memory system for learning in general. So, in case of the relevance of this memory for language, says to process the language, when the language information comes to us, we need to process it. So, how to process it? We need to have knowledge of the language which is stored in our semantic memory. For example, knowledge of sounds, right? Knowledge of words, knowledge of syntactic rules, and also pragmatic aspects of language, right? And you know pragmatics, okay? How do you define pragmatics? Huh? How do you mean by pragmatics? Mr. Islam is typing. How do you mean by invisible meaning? No, you need to be clearer. The use of language. The use of language in where? In what context? Yeah, in certain situations, right? Meaning in context is referred to as pragmatics, right? Right. So, pragmatic knowledge means how to use language within real life situation. All right, the use of language in real life situation, and the meaning which is all right delivered in real life situations is referred to as knowledge of okay pragmatics. So all these types of knowledge, language knowledge, are stored in our long-term semantic memory to be able to process the language. No, not just the study of language, it is a study of language use in real life context. Okay, I'll put it here. Language use in real life context. This is pragmatics. I'll put it is pragmatics. Alright, that's it then. And one thing which should be stated about semantic memory is that experts have a greater store of information in their semantic memories than the novices. You know, the experts means the skillful people, right? And among these skillful people, we have genius. Genius, all right? Uh, can store, okay, more information based on the number of studies which have explored the cognitive processes of individuals highly skilled at a particular tasks, right? For example, chess, bridge, music, or computer programming. These skillful people can hold more information than the novice, right, if we compare. And because of that, they can perform that cognitive task more skillfully than the others. For example, a person who's expert in chess may know, okay, compared with novice, okay, they can remember the positions of the pieces on a chessboard better than the uh, novice. If of course those pieces are arranged in an organized ways, right? So the more experienced you are in doing a cognitive task, this means that you have a larger semantic memory, right? Let's review the content of episodic memory. Again, Tulving in 1972 and 2002 is most responsible for the advancement of the construct of the episodic memory. So Tulving is a pioneer in the proposing the concepts of long-term memory and divided into semantic and episodic memory. He emphasized that the activation of episodic memory is not just retrieving personal facts from the long-term memory. Rather, it is retrieving information from a person's own perspective. Okay, for example, as another examples that is you may be able to remember the name of your first grade teacher. Can you? Do you remember the name of your first grade teacher or your first okay, your first university instructor at BA level? Ah, yeah, right. But the first day of school or the first day of college, okay, the experience of the first day college or the first day in school uh, is okay is kept and held in your episodic memory. So whatever information which is related to your personal experiences of the world around is stored in your episodic memory. Okay, for example, about your first day at grade school, first day at college, which says the first day of such first days was hectic, right? And when we says my first day at school or at college was hectic, this means that you are using information from your episodic memory, all right? And the various forms of brain damage, okay? So the studies of okay brain damage and brain disorder provide support for the episodic semantic distinctions. That is, these two sub system of long-term memory are different from each other, right? The one, so people such as Tulving, Schachter, McLaren, and Moscovich study in 1989, right? Case study of a man called Casey is an evidence to distinctions between semantic and episodic memory. This guy, that is Casey, suffered from a closed head injury in a motorcycle accident. So let's detail the case, see how the case gives us information, serves as an evidence uh, on the distinction between a semantic memory and episodic memory. Uh, this guy who suffered from a brain damage because of motorbike accident, his overall intelligence and cognitive capacities were intact. Okay, it was when it says it was intact, it was normal, intact, not suffering from anything. That he enjoyed overall was in a normal condition, overall intelligence and cognitive capacity. That is, he could play chess, organ, and various card games. Also, his knowledge of many facts of his personal life, including where he grew up, was normal, right? So he could retrieve information from his semantic memory. You know, all these informations are stored in the semantic memory. That is, playing chess is a motor skill related to motor skill information, or again motor skills and card games, and also facts of his personal life, right? Were normal. However, his ability to remember a personally experienced events, for example, if he was asked to narrate, okay, the stories related to the school days, all right, graduation days, all right, workplace stories. He couldn't do that because his episodic memory was seriously impaired or damaged. All right, but in contrast, his knowledge of history, geography, other school subjects, a as well as his general knowledge of the world was not greatly impaired. So, oh, all in all, it appears that his semantic memory uh, was damaged, okay, was impaired, but his episodic memory, sorry, was severely impaired, but his semantic memory was in a normal condition, was spared. It is not severe damage happened occurred to his semantic memory. Uh, he had another problem that this guy suffered was he had no ability to imagine his own future, right? That is, he could not say what he might do later that day or at any time in the rest of his life. Okay, so those who suffer from damage to the episodic memory uh, will have this problem, that is a deficit in autonotic consciousness. Right? I highlighted in red, I highlight these concepts in red. Autonomic consciousness means not being able to uh, imagine or to plan for future. Okay, uh, this the type of consciousness of subjectivity, experience, time, past, present, or future. That is, you cannot relate any story or any plan related to these time frames, past, present, or future. Uh, in some patients, okay, deficit in episodic memory or problem with episodic memory produce an erroneous sense of familiarity, which is referred to as déjà vu. Okay, uh, scholars such as Moline, Conway, Thompson, James, and Jones, 2005, describe two cases of déjà vu, or as they term it, déjà vu. That is, the sense of actually lived through the present moment before. You know, probably sometimes it may happen to the normal people, but in rare cases that you will face a new situation, but you feel that you are familiar, that you experienced that situation before. It is déjà vu. For example, one of the Mullins et al. Patients, he was an 80-year-old man who had been an engineer and was witty, articulate, by witty means funny, and able to take care for himself, right? However, he refused to read newspaper or watch TV, right? Because he believed he had done it before. So all these are related to the impairment to the episodic memory. These cases are provided as an evidence concerning the distinction between a semantic memory and a episodic memory. That is, although they both are the subsystem of long-term memory, but different information are stored in these two subsystems, and the okay, neurolinguistics in terms of okay, brain damages provide cases of brain damage provide the right evidence concerning the distinctions between episodic and semantic memory. Any questions so far? Right. Autonomic, yes. Right. Consciousness, it has you some people suffering from brain damage believe that right they they cannot imagine a future, and they cannot remember the events happened to them in the past, okay, and even present. So right, we are again. Now, let's see, the next subtopic in today's discussion is related to the relevance of memory system for language processing. All right, so because Mr. Isam is asking a question: why some genius have a stronger, this is powerful, all right, storage memory, all right, because of the, all right, IQ, okay, the IQ, that is intelligence coefficients, all right, is by genetic is large, and also through, okay, so you learn things very fast. They are fast at learning things, and because of that, they memory system storage and capacity is larger, and they can store. What helped them to be so? Says genetically, one factor is genetically they are more intelligent than the other, and also by nurture. Okay, all these are a matter of, if you recall, I pointed to nature and nurture in the in enhancing one's learning. Yeah? So through practice, through hard working, all right, through having contact with different sources of information, right? Then you have content, okay, into, if you have contact with different informations, if you try to okay, uh, obtain information from the different sources, then you can develop your, okay, semantic memory and concentration. If you try to train your concentration and try to be attentive to your surrounding, then your semantic memory storage will be larger, and you can, okay, store more information into it. So practice and concentration, in addition to, okay, uh, being genetically more intelligent. Very good. Any other point you want to raise? Good. Now let's see the relevance of memory system or information processing system for language processing. As I told you, we learn about this okay, psychological mechanism, but it is important to know the relationship of these psychological mechanisms to language learning, language use, that is comprehension and production. Right? As I as we learned before, the working memory capacity is limited. Okay, it is though such a system help us to process the information coming to us, including language information, still the resources available in our memory system is limited. For example, I believe in us, Nas Muhammad Fazil Al Jabbar, the same questions was raised by Essam, Mr. Essam. And I told him it's a matter of genetic and also uh, practice. So some people genetically have higher IQ, and through practice, experience, they can improve their capacity of their working and of their memory system, right? So they can store and retrieve more information tactfully, right? Right. Now, let's go back to the capacity of working memory. It is limited because we are able just to hold about 7 units of information. Of course, 7 minus 2, right? This is the formula for the capacity of capacity capacity of no of working memory. 7 minus 2 is either, okay, 5 to 7 units can be stored in your working memory. This could be simply 7 words, but you'll see that many sentences are longer than this. Right now, I am talking to you. I am talking to you through sentence and combination of sentences. So we need some way to deal immediately with more than 7 words. So what do we do while you are listening to me? It is we do this by chunk the words into grammatical constituents, right? Based on your language knowledge, in your semantic memory, you are able to uh, put the words together. That is, instead of lingering and pausing on individual words, you put them to a grammatical constituent. We'll do this for you, and then you have a combination of words in the format of nouns, verb phrases, adjective phrases, prepositional phrases, and then you will chunk them into larger constituents, right? Like okay, subject, predicate, okay, adjectival phrases, adverbal phrases, right? Main clause, okay, dependent clause, and then you take them together. In this way, we will reduce the storage burden. Okay, the load is lowered. I mean, the working memory load is reduced to 2 or 3 constituents. All right. So we are exposed to many words right now. You are listening to me. Okay, sometimes I talk fast. Okay, and you bombard you with different words, but because you have a knowledge of, I hope, knowledge of English language, good knowledge of English language, you are familiar with the words, and so you put words together in order to, okay, reduce the your working memory load, and in fact, you will understand me uh, via phrases, sentences, and sentences together. In this way, the processing function of working memory is used to organize words into constituents. Uh, to in one word, you do not focus. That is, listeners do not focus. How to reduce it? By not focusing on individual words, right? We will focus on phrases. We'll focus on sentences. Right there. Focusing on phrases phrases and okay sentences rather than pausing on individual words. That's it. And organize them into okay constituents. And says constituents means phrases. Constituents means putting a number of words together, of course, in a meaningful way. Right? That is when it says a red hat. Okay, a red hat is what? It's a phrase. Yeah. What kind of phrase it is? A red hat. It's a noun phrase, right? Okay. How about this? The girl with a bunch, with a bunch of flower. The girl with a bunch of flower. What is it? What kind of phrase it is? Yeah, but I like you to consider it as a whole. No, it is not. No. The girl, the girl, the two word the girl is a noun phrase. But when this is the girl with a bunch of flower, it's an adjectival phrase. Okay? It's an adjectival phrase. Adjective phrase. With with a bunch of flower, it's a prepositional phrase which acts as an adjective. So we'll call it adjectival phrase. I'll put it adjectival phrase. It acts as an adjective, right? Alright. What is meant by 7 words? Okay, it's an example. It is an evidence for the capacity of working memory. It shows that your working memory is limited. It cannot store more than 1 word. In order to compensate and to hold more information, we will change these words into constituents, that is 7 constituents, 7 phrases, 7 sentences, etc. Right. Thank you for your questions. So, in fact, the processing function of working memory is to organize words into constituents. By constituents means a combination of words such as phrases, such as clauses, and sentences. Let's talk about the several roles which are played by long-term memory. A semantic memory, so this was for your working memory, which is responsible for holding a small amount of language information, about 7 to, of course this is for immediate use, of course. That is immediately the language pieces are organized into constituents and they are sent to your long memory, and then the other coming informations are right there. This is a constant and continuous process, right? And the more you know about the language, the more background information you have about the language, then you have got a larger working memory about that language, and your processing become quick. In terms of long-term memory, long-term memory roles, we have semantic memories which contain information as was stated about speech sounds, words, syntactic rules, pragmatic rules, and be retrieved during pattern recognition. So we recognize what the sentence pattern it is, right? Whether the speaker is using a question, statement, exclamation, you see, and whether the sentence is a complex sentence, simple sentence, compound complex sentence. We will all do this recognition based on our semantic knowledge. And while this process is continuing, we are build up an episodic memory representation of the ongoing discourse. How do we mean by this? It is building or constructing an episodic memory representation. It is once we complete the processing of a given sentence, then we might extract the gist of it and store that in episodic memory. Right? This means that while we are listening to somebody, what is finally stored in our long-term memory is the gist. You know the meaning of gist? Gist? The core, yes, the summary. All right. By gist means the main points. All right. Main points or the summary. Okay. For example, right now I talked about the role of working memory, and now if I ask you to remember my explanations about working memory, you may mention that working memory is a part of our what? Our information processing system. It has a limited capacity, and the main function of working memory is to change the long string of words into grammatical constituents in an organized way, right? So what is stored in your long-term memory is what? It is the gist, the summary. You are not expected to remember everything word by word, verbatim. Uh, Recitations of the information you receive. For this reason, we teachers, um, should not expect our students to remember everything word for word. Okay, that is verbatim retrieval of information is something unusual. Verbatim. Verbatim is a concept we mean to remember a an event, remember to remember information word for word. Okay. It is not it is not recommended to expect people. We should not expect people to uh, remember every piece of information, every detail yet. Yeah, because a normal human being can store just the gist of what they listen to and what they are exposed to, right? During pattern recognition, all right. Okay, they process it. Okay, the interpreter, such people needs to develop the memory system capacity, okay, through practice. Okay, right now I am handling interpretation classes in English, okay, for undergraduate students, and usually they are not at the beginning they are not skillful because they don't know the strategies, right? In oral interpretations, we are limited for time and energy, so we are not needed to do verbatim interpretations. First, we should focus, right? When we are listening to interpreter, we need to distinguish between the main points and the minor points, and to focus on the main points, right? In order to deliver it in the target language. So practice and concentrations are the two strategies enabling us to make the best use of our working memory capacity. Thank you. And also relying on our long-term memory. If in our long-term memory the information are well organized, all right, through accommodation and through assimilation, then we have reliable information to consult when we are on the spot interpretations of the language. I hope my response to your question is convincing, Mr. Esau. Thank you. Any other? So, it is not ordinary to expect people to remember everything they listen to word by word. And this has a lesson for us as a teachers. The teachers should not expect students to um, remember everything they were exposed to. Instead, to be able to remember and recall the main points and the main meanings and concepts. For this reason, it is strongly suggested to help students to improve their skill of interpretation, right? Rasha Muhammad Ali, once we complete the processing of a given system, we might extract the gist of it, right, and store it in the episode. I gave you the example. Thank you. Now, we talked about the relevance of memory system to language processing. Let's see what options do we uh, make use of when we are processing linguistic information. That is, uh, the different ways for uh, processing language information. Right? Here we point to four kinds of information, language information processing. One is serial, the other is parallel processing. The next one is bottom-up processing, and the fourth one is top-down processing. Right? Zainab Jabbar Muhammad stated serial processing is one task is completed at a time and all the tasks are run one by one. Yes, in a sequence. So it's a serial. Serial means one by one after another. Here a group of processes taking place one at a time. On the other hand, parallel processing, we have two or more of the processing taking place at the same time. Again, now we are listening to me, okay? You will try, while you are listening to me, you are processing the words at the phonetic levels, at the sound levels, okay, at syntactic levels, and then you will try to insert, okay, these words into a syntactic structures in order to draw the meaning. Like this example is a good one in order to make to understand the distinctions between serial a processing and parallel processing. Uh, for example, a serial model would divide the process of language production into stages. How? One stage might be devoted to developing the phrase structure of the sentence. Alright? You know phrase structure, right? Verb phrase, noun phrase, and a combination of them, then to decide whether the sentence is a statement, it's a question, it's an exclamation, right? You know how do I mean by exclamation sentence pattern? Exclamation. Exclamation sentence pattern. What kind of sentence it is? Yeah, okay. Enough stated. So this is the punctuation mark for exclamation sentence patterns. Can you give me an example of this sentence pattern? A concrete example? Yes, bow. It's a one-word sentence, of course. Oops. Of course, here we'll have a more complete sentence. Look, okay, look, it's raining now, right? So the meaning behind exclamation is what? Through exclamation, the speaker expresses what? Expresses what do we express? We will express our what? Okay, surprise, excitement. So this is strong emotions, right? We will express stronger emotions through exclamations, right? All right. So in serial processing, first we develop the phrase structure, then we retrieve the lexical items that are inserted into the structure, and then we will determine the correct pronunciations of this, like it is in the production, of course, of lexical items. So first we'll decide we want to express our feelings, right, through an exclamation sentence. Then we will try to decide about the sounds and combination of the sounds into the words and lexical items. And this serial model, based on Fromkin's 1971, would assume that these stages occur one at a time and not overlap.